as news that Google's Willow quantum computing chip is blowing away competition, leaving many shocked. Should the Bitcoin moon boys panic? Or as they say, is it all over? So if you're new here, hit that like and subscribe, and I'm gonna jump into something that is taking the world, but also the crypto world by storm today, and that's Google unveiling their mind-boggling new quantum computing chip. And the reason that people in the Bitcoin community are a little fearful here is that, does this new chip have the capability of breaking Bitcoin's algorithm, of breaking Bitcoin's code, and leaving Bitcoin holders and Bitcoin wallets completely vulnerable? Well, we're going to spend this video kind of diving into that because it is big news. And if we take a look, as this article states, can Google's Willow quantum chip end Bitcoin's reign? It says right here, Google Willow shows potential, but question remains whether it can destabilize Bitcoin's encryption network. So before we really dive into this, I really think it's important to also keep in mind that if Bitcoin is susceptible, or if something could happen to Bitcoin in terms of this new technology, keep in mind, if Bitcoin is vulnerable, every corporation, bank, government also is likely to be even more vulnerable. I don't know if there's a single bank or government that's actually good at security and privacy. So let's get that out of the way first. So if we actually want to jump into some of the topics here, we see that Charles Edwards on X talking about quantum computing. It's real and it is going to change the world. And what he states here is that it will break Bitcoin if we do not upgrade it. So we need consensus on the Bitcoin network, and Bitcoin can be upgraded. So it's not like Bitcoin is just a sitting duck that can just, is just counting its days and there's no chance. That is not the problem whatsoever, but there is something urgent about it that I'm going to get into as well. But as he states here, as few as 2,500 logical qubits may be needed to break the SHA-256 algorithm in Bitcoin, not this massive 300 million that you're reading about on X. But keep in mind that a logical qubit is not equal to a physical qubit because basically the error correction capabilities are different, but we're also getting error correction capabilities that are getting better each day. And that's the bigger problem, is that whether or not this directly affects Bitcoin's safety and security today, the point is, what I think this is going to do is really motivate and provide a sense of urgency to the Bitcoin and crypto community, but also hopefully the world. Because again, if quantum computing, you guys have heard about the singularity. It's something that I consider a lot. And basically, as technology becomes, and especially when it comes to AI, which is just this breakthrough that we've only been seeing really covered in the media and taken very seriously over the last 12 to 24 months. But basically what it is, and how I think of technology, and again, especially with AI, is that once technology grows, it becomes uncontrollable, irreversible, and basically speeds up. So think of it as like, the snowball effect. You take a little itsy bitsy tiny snowball and you roll it down a hill. It's just very tiny and it's not super significant. But then as it gets bigger and bigger, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and eventually there's no way to stop it. And that's the simplest way I think of like the technological singularity, is that really the only thing you can do if you want to either negate or prevent it getting out of hand is you have to act early, because once the snowball gets rolling, it's basically done. Okay, so this I think is a really good thing, whether or not, and I'm going to get into, is this specifically dangerous to Bitcoin now or not, but whether or not it is, we need to get ahead of it now, period. Anyway. And so there is some guidance. Basically, quantum computing firms listed on NASDAQ are giving forward guidance and expecting to be at around 3,000 logical qubits in about 5 years. But again, keep in mind, this could be longer, further away, or much shorter. And that's why there should be a sense of urgency here. Once we've agreed on a quantum computing proof cryptography upgrade for Bitcoin, it will likely take about a year to move most people across to it, further reducing the lead time we have to act. And he summarizes here, it's good everyone's taking it seriously right now, because this is when it should be taken seriously as well. According to Charles Edwards, most firms are on track to achieve this level in less than 5 years. And Matteo Pellegrini on X highlighting that the reference study discusses the number of logical qubits potentially needed to break SHA-256. While it's true that only 2,500 logical qubits might suffice for breaking Bitcoin's encryption, aka the private key derivation, achieving this in practice involves a massive leap in error correction, coherence time, and gate fidelity. essentially. So again, these are big words and big concepts that you don't necessarily need to know, although I guess we all should start familiarizing ourselves with it. But physical qubits required could number in the millions due to current inefficiencies with AI. So this is also important. The standard for what qualifies as a logical qubit here is a moving target depending on the application. We have not yet created a single logical qubit capable of acting as a single qubit in a SHA-256, ECDSA or RSA context for applied key sizes. So again, I'm going to get into it. Is this bad for Bitcoin? I'm going to continue. So as we go further, it's going to be more and more clear, I think. In theory, what you're saying is that any Bitcoin ever mined could be stolen once this technology catches up, this person on X, CoolKB, asks. And the answer basically is that, only wallets that have transactions and expose their public keys, which Bitcoin, if used how it's designed, gives you a new wallet each transaction, and the public key is not exposed where your Bitcoin is. There's a lot of fear mongering going on here, but I'm going to kind of explain why I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that there's fear mongering. We also see, the Bitcoin team is on it. Even a quick and dirty solution, increasing the number of possible seed phrase words from currently about 2,000 to about 4,000 exponentially raises level of difficulty for quantum computing to break Bitcoin. And that's not even like a long-term solution. That's just a quick one, as he says, that would, drastically give a lot of lead time to prevent something from cracking Bitcoin. But as well, basically, not everybody's acceptable, but it's very likely an arms race to mine all the Bitcoin is a possibility if quantum computing can really start accelerating. And it's not magic-free instant computing as the media sells it, according to Ratoshi on X here. And he says here it's unlikely to be a winner-takes-all conclusion, meaning, it's not like, what he's saying here is basically like, if Bitcoin is cracked, it's not like all of a sudden like, oh, it's done, and then it's it. And according to Borovic on X, Google's new quantum chip Willow is about 105 logical qubits, I can only assume. You would need 13 million to 1.9 billion qubits to compromise Bitcoin within a practical time frame. He's saying basically Bitcoin will be fine for decades. The comment right under here saying, maybe a decade, but decades probably not. And again, this is kind of why I personally think that, the concept of just something as simple as the singularity, or how technology just grows and grows increasingly fast, becomes important, because I think it's going to grow faster than people are expecting. And if people are underestimating how fast things grow, then these timeframes can become problematic. If we're saying, oh, we still have about a decade, but then let's find out these breakthroughs really start, happening extremely rapidly, faster than people expect, we can see that cut down to much less than a decade. Again, I don't think we're at that point, but it's very, very, very important to get ahead of it before we do get to that point. And as I mentioned earlier as well, if quantum computing really starts picking up pace and encryption becomes vulnerable in a wide array of things, then Bitcoin is not the only thing susceptible. Nuclear codes, every institution on the planet that uses the internet or has access to, basically vulnerabilities become just that, extremely vulnerable. The vulnerabilities start increasing rapidly. And so it would become a much bigger problem than just Bitcoin. And again, so far, everything that I've read and my understanding is telling us like, hey, Bitcoin, at least for the foreseeable future, we're talking about where we have plenty of time where the network can be upgraded to then be much more resilient to any type of quantum computing. The amount of time we have is still totally something that you shouldn't panic about, in my opinion, and from my understanding. Ben Sigmund giving a short answer, will quantum computing destroy Bitcoin? With Willow's new announcement from Google about the 105 qubits with improved error rates, should Bitcoiners be worried? His short answer is no. Bitcoin relies on two types of encryption, ECDSA-256 and SHA-256. But cracking it would require over 1 million qubits. Willow's 105 isn't close. And even tougher, SHA-256 requires a different approach and millions of physical qubits to pose a real threat. For now, Bitcoin's cryptography remains safe. But again, we should absolutely be having this discussion and getting in front of it. So with that being said, I personally think that the market at this current setup is actually pretty good. We're actually seeing the price go down a little bit. People are scared of this, but ultimately I think that, again, the main purpose of this video, if anything, I think it can serve as a one, just giving you like a base, like a super basic knowledge of the whole debate and the whole concern around quantum computing and Bitcoin's cryptography and safety and security, but also more so just bringing attention. Bitcoin can get consensus and be upgraded to increase security, which, you know, I would say most people on the Bitcoin network would agree that, hey, let's, you know, increase the security and increase Bitcoin's potential security here. But also, we should be getting in front of it as soon as we can.